Hey team, we're going to play with some 5e game design here on Tuesday Martial Powers. So give me a second here to check my signal, and then we'll get started. Hold on real quick. That was kind of an anticlimactic. Get started. Hold on real quick. That was kind of okay. That sounds like it's coming through. Okay. Let me go through my intro spiel here real quick, and then we'll launch into an hour of fun. So. All right. Hey, my name is Theurgy. I create role-playing game supplements that I publish online. We're currently working on the Martial Power System for 5th edition. It's a modification of Book of Nine Swords from 3rd edition and the general Martial Power Systems from 4e to have a mana-based system for non-spellcasters such as barbarians, fighters, rogues, as well as partial casters like rangers, artificers, and other words, paladins. Thank you. That's what we're saying. To have an alternate spellcasting system that isn't available to full casters to use, to give more options, varieties, and firepower to the martial classes to try to stay up to speed with their full casting compatriots using Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. So we've built a number of different 5e mechanics in the past. You can check in the description down below to see a slew of work that we've already produced. They're all available, the extensive previews. So there's plenty of content there for you to take a look at. If you think any of it's cool, you're certainly welcome to, say, purchase some of it if you're into the 5e stuff, or just look at the pretty pictures if you're not. Other ways to support the channel, we've just posted that we're live on Twitter, so you can always find out when we're live in the future on Twitter at Theurgy, as well as, since we're live, we can hit like, subscribe, the bell icon here in on YouTube to support the channel. I also have a Patreon that you can support me with at Theurgy, Patreon at Theurgy. So let's see. There's my quick spiel. So let's get to work. Today we're going to work on the Mastermind. So this is the Martial Power System. We is playtest content. If you check in my Patreon links down below in the About page that leads to, you don't have to be a patron to access this playtest content. It's still very rough. We are still in our first draft. There was my phantom squid that pops into view occasionally on my microphone, but yeah, it's playtest content right now. It's available for folks to use from level 1 to 20. My playtesting team is currently running at 18th level. I run 1 to 20 level campaigns on like level 1 to 20, roughly every 260 to 300 hours of gameplay before we start a new cycle over with level 1 characters. And currently, we're at 18th level. We started using martial powers around 12th level, so it's been working really well in the 3rd and 4th tier of gameplay right now for ranger, a rogue, and we had a fighter, but they dropped off of the team. But our druid is currently using martial powers as well, while wild shaped. So there's some fun stuff going on here. You can check it out. It's basically an alternate spell point variant rule system that I use. The Color Mana Spell Point Variant Rule Bundle that's down below has a slew of books that use this same mana system. It was originally designed for Color Mana, for use with Ravnica, Strixhaven, any MTG setting or plane shift that you would want to have Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, using color identities as a mana pool for spellcasters. But that leaves out the barbarian, the rogue, the fighter, unless they're taking alternate subclasses. So we're designing a full subclass system here, or an alternate system that allows us to continue using mana, whether it's color mana or just generic like key or spell points like from the Dungeon Master's Guide. There's also an option for elemental magic for like The Last Airbender or Avatar. You can fire, air, earth, fire, water elements that you can use. There's also alternate systems you can use like light and shadow, an alignment-based system if you want to. Basically, you can assign a devotion. You can label mana points to different subsystems. Like color would be like white, blue, black, red, green, or the 4 elements: air, earth, fire, water. You can assign points to them and then assign effects or spells to that specific. Well, we call them a paradigm. It's like the elemental magic paradigm is those 4 elements. So you can break up all the spells into different categories depending on what the devotion, what power paradigm you're using. Like for example, I'll just go on a quick tangent here with you guys because like everything's a tangent in the world, isn't it? Let's go here and let's go into our drop down here real quick and let's check out the color mana spell point variant rule system. So here's the bundle, but we're going to look specifically at this moment at the elemental key. And we're going to look at the full preview so you guys can take a look at the PDF with me real quick, just to make a case in point here. This was built to be able to use either color magic or elemental magic. So elemental key is air, earth, fire, water versus color magic, which is blue, red, and green, right? If you're not familiar with MTG, you just ignore color. If you're not using Ravnica or Strixhaven, you don't have to use that. If you're just going with a generic elemental campaign, then this is the only column that you have to worry about here. Air, earth, fire, water, like you can see here, Ray of Frost. That's being labeled as either water or air because it's freezing mist or fog, or it's frost, which could fall into the air or the water category, like at the top of the mountain or the bottom of the ocean. Take your pick. Another one, Fangs of the Fire Snake, is obviously F for fire. We got Thunder Wave, which is air and earth, because you're causing a concussion of a seismic shock wave, as it were, to knock your foes prone. So that falls in the air and the earth category. So like if you have air mana or earth mana, then either one of those types of people can have access to it. It's just you flavor it as air or you flavor it as earth, depending on which type of mana you're using. So this is a half caster that we created out of the Way of the 4 Elements. We just turned it into a half casting class. Honestly, we did that so that if you're playing Strixhaven, this monk could qualify to get a scholarship into Strixhaven, the College of Magic, using either blue, red, or green magic. Then they could be like part of Prismari or Quandrix. Once the Martial Powers book comes out, we'll also be able to create things like white and black mana for Silver Quill. We could have the Shadow Monk as well as the Sun Soul Monk, both white from the Sun Soul and black from Shadow, Way of the Shadow. Both of those schools could be part of the Silver Quill's college at Strixhaven using white and black mana. So these monks get scholarships to work to school at Strixhaven, getting on the Mage Tower team. So that allows us to open up some fun skirmish rules for using with Magecraft as monks, or using this entire alternate power system, just martial powers in general. You could then have barbarians, like with Prismari, for instance, a blue-red barbarian that is passionate about motion, dance, movement. Then you could build a barbarian around that theme. And since they would have a mana pool, they would be able to qualify for developing their magical aptitude at Strixhaven. That was the base idea going into all this, of how can we get monks to qualify to gain access to the feats that allow them to enter the different colleges at Strixhaven. And from that bloomed the Martial Powers book. So it's got its progressions depending on if you're a half caster, which uses hybrid points, versus like barbarian, fighter, rogue, full martial classes, which use martial points. And then of course there's key and pact points, which we'll have to, I guess, change key to discipline if it comes to that with 1D&D. We'll update all of this stuff once 1D&D comes out. But for now, 5e is 5e, and there are no other official rules for it. So this still stands. And even when it comes out, since we publish it on the DMs Guild, I'll just be able to drop this into one of the folders, so you can either use the original 5e version or the 1D&D version, whichever one you want to use once it publishes. So if you've been with us in the past 60 some odd episodes that we've done this, we're going to take some time here to drop down into the rogue. And the way that we had originally built this was we had initially built an archetype for each of the classes that specifically used the martial powers system. But as 1D&D continues to evolve, we see more and more of the things that we created here last year in the martial power system that keeps showing up in the D&D playtesting. So I'm not sure who there at Wizards follows my content, but it's pretty evident. So right now what we're looking at is the rogue specifically. And what we had done with the martial trickster is, here is the subclass, the martial trickster, that we created. But what will happen is we're going to deconstruct this and just end up making these different optional class features that a rogue can take if they decide to use martial power. So these will be add-ons. Some of this is going to look familiar to you. You can reduce, like for example, the empowered sneak attacks. This is something that people will have seen in 1D&D, but again, this stuff's been in my playtest document since the beginning, so you can go back to the first episodes of this and see us building these things out before Wizards came up with it. Not that I'm breaking my back, patting myself on the back, but we approach it differently. So 9th level, when you deal sneak attack damage, you can reduce your sneak attack damage by 3 dice to gain 1 temporary point of mana to spend on strike powers that you know. At 13th level, you can reduce your sneak attack damage by 6 dice to gain 2 temporary points. And at 17th level, you can reduce your sneak attack dice by 9 dice to gain 3 temporary points. And the mana in your pool can be added to the temporary mana to channel these strike powers up to your maximum channel limit. Any temporary mana remaining at the end of the attack is lost. So looking at our power table, actually we're going to stay down here in the rogue because this is where we're going to be working next. We're going to work on the mastermind today, and we'll get to that in a minute. Just want to finish walking through how this stuff works. So looking at the first page, a rogue is a martial class, so it has a martial point progression of 1 point per level, pretty much like a monk has, and we'll see how we can bend that into our favor. But also, you have ranks of power from 1 to 5, which are following the half-casting progression that artificers, and now in the playtesting, rangers and paladins also use. And then there's the power die, which is a D6 at first level and upgrades to a D8 at 9th, and then a D10 at 17th level. Kind of like superiority dice, but with a 4-tier curve built to grow over time. So as we read in the optional power feature, where was it? Here we go. So 9th level, you can sacrifice 3 dice to gain 1 point of temporary mana. So at 9th level, we know we have what? 1, 2, 3rd level, 5th level, 7th level, 9th level. At 9th level, you have 5d6 sneak attack dice. You can drop 3 of them, leaving you with 2 left, and that gives you a free point of martial power. That free point is going to use a d8, so it's a little clumsy, so it ended up being 3d6 damage and then a d8 that you would have on top of that. I'm thinking about some modifications to that. Like, instead of doing d6, you now convert to using your power die. So like if you use this, you'd have 5d6 normally. Instead, this would swap down to being 2d8 damage plus the free point of mana. So it ended up being 3d8 damage instead of 5d6. So it's a bit of a power drop there. And then that gives you a free point of mana that you can spend on strike powers. So if we go down and look at strike powers, and we'll get into the thick of all of this, but, oh, wait a second. I think I have our friend NAC created a table of content for us. God bless you. So let's go down real quick and look at our multi-classing martial powers. Blip. Nice. It works. Martial powers. So let's go to... Here's all the mechanics behind martial powers. And then there's 5 disciplines. There's exploits, which modify die rolls and movement. There are maneuvers, which use either a bonus action or a standard action to channel. There's reactions, which are self-explanatory. They are reactions. Then there's strikes, which work a lot like paladin smite spells. So if you gain 1 free point of mana, then you would, like, say, for instance, be able to use freezing strike for free, because you get that free temporary point of mana during sneak attack. you'd be able to spend it on a freezing strike using your magic mana. Then your weapon can deal cold damage and add 1 power die per mana burned, additional cold damage. The creature's movement is halved until the end of its next turn. So that would end up being you hit, you do 3d8 damage, and then the target its movement is halved, or like shocking strike. You do 3d8. You would do 3d8 damage, and then the creature can't take reactions until the end of its next turn. So that's there's a lot of, there's 22 different strike powers that we have here that you can pick from. And then there's sustain things, which are concentration based, sustained or concentration effects that remain active while you're concentrating. So they're like self buffs. So we'll be able to pick from these different powers. What we're going to do right now is we're going to go into the Mastermind. And as you can see here, there's a power list. So we have 1, 2, 3. You gain powers at 3rd because that's when you take the subclass. 5th because that's when you get in second rank powers. 9th, 11th, 13th, and 17th. These are your ranks of power. And then just like any other subclass, you gain a list of powers that are appropriate for the, like here's the assassin. We didn't actually have to change any features of the assassin to work with martial powers, but the assassin gains these 10 different powers to lean into the assassin narrative. So as you can see on the, oh god, I need to set a timer. Thank you. 20 minutes. There we go. Timer. So looking at the martial power list, known powers, you start with 2 known powers and you'll eventually end up with 16 of them that you can just pick. Plus, you gain the specific powers for whichever subclass you're using. We've been doing this for barbarian, fighter. Today we're doing rogue. We had already done this for ranger and paladin and monk, but we're going to go back through. We didn't think of the power list initially, so now we're going to go back through all those classes and build power lists for all of them. So right now we're working inside a rogue. And again, you can go to the, if you go to the more about me, Twitter, ability check, here it is, playtest content at Patreon. So you click into Patreon, here, that's me. And then recent posts, playtest content for martial powers. And then you can click into martial powers, which is the exact same document that we're looking at here. So you too can read along if you want. It's a read-only document. So you can, but again, it's free for you guys to view. And once it's on the DMsGuild, you'll have the PDF as a preview also to look at. And if you want to support me, you can do so through Patreon or purchase the things that you see on the DMsGuild to support me. So we're going to build out the Mastermind. We did Inquisitive last week, so we're going to do the Mastermind this week. So we've already opened up the document here to take a look at the Mastermind, and I'm going to open up a notepad here. I'm going to just cut paste the whole thing. And we're going to look at each of these class features to see what's appropriate. Like, is everything as it's coded still work with powers? And if it does, then we can just, like with the assassin, we can just write no changes, which would be ideal. I don't want things to have to change, but if they do need to change, then we can come in, we can make, changes to like Wall of the Grave. You see, we're making modifications to the Phantom. So we're going to go through the Mastermind. I think we're going to get into Swashbuckler later on. So Phantom, Scout, Soul Knife, Swashbuckler. Right, we already did the Thief. So after today with the Mastermind, we'll come back next week to do Soul Knife and the Swashbuckler, and then we'll be able to move on into looking at the Monk again. So let's see where we are at. Features. This is where we want to start. Give me a second here. Yeah, most of these features we don't actually have to change much. Let's go down. Let's just grab this as a template. see. Master, 2 master, 3 insight, 4 misdirect, and 5 soul of deceit. So 4, 5. Soul of deceit, misdirection. Insightful manipulator. Master of tactics. Master of intrigue. All right, cool. So let's see if any of these qualify, if we don't need them or not. If they can stay the same, that's perfect. So, Master of Intrigue. When you choose this archetype at 3rd level, you gain proficiency with the Disguise kit, the Forgery kit, and 1 gaming set of your choice. You can also learn 2 languages of your choice. Jesus. Additionally, you can unerringly mimic the speech patterns and accent of a creature that you hear speak for at least 1 minute. That you hear speak for at least 1 minute. That you hear speak for at least 1 minute, enabling you to pass yourself off as a native speaker of a particular land, provided that you know the language. And of course, you can learn that language if you want. So, Master of Intrigue, we do not need to change that. No changes. Master of Tactics. Let's take a look at that. Also starting at 3rd level, you can use the help action as a bonus action. Additionally, when you use the help action to aid an ally in attacking a creature, the target of that attack can be within 30 feet of you, rather than within 5 feet of you, if the target can see or hear you. So there's no need to change that either. So far, so good. This is easy, right? If all we have to do is just add a stack of powers, that'll be fun. So let's look at Insightful Manipulator. Starting at 9th level, if you spend at least 1 minute observing or interacting with another creature outside combat, you can learn certain information about its capabilities compared to your own. The DM tells you if the creature is your equal, superior, or inferior regarding to 2 of the following characteristics of your choice. Intelligence, wisdom, charisma, class level, if any. At the DM's option, you may also realize, a piece of the creature's history or one of its personality traits if it has any. I do not need to change that. Misdirection. Let's see if we need to change that. Misdirection. Starting at 13th level, you can sometimes cause another creature to suffer an attack meant for you. When you are targeted by an attack while a creature within 5 feet of you is granting you cover against that attack, you can use your reaction to have the attack target that creature instead of you. Beginning at 13th level, you can sometimes cause another blah, 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 blah. When you are targeted by an attack while a creature within 5 feet of you is granting you cover against that attack, you can use your reaction to have the attack target that creature instead of you. Okay? Yeah, we don't need to change that. That works as is. Soul Deceit, last one. So far, we're looking good. 17th level, your thoughts can't be read by telepathy or other means. Okay. Unless you allow it. You can present false thoughts by succeeding a charisma deception check contested by the mind reader's wisdom insight check. Additionally, no matter what you say, magic that would determine if you are telling you the truth indicates you are being truthful if you so choose. And you can't be compelled to tell the truth by magic. That is fantastic. There is no changes needed to any of the class features. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. So let's check out what some cool powers we might want to bestow upon the Mastermind. I'm going to peel out the list of powers from the stack. So we're just looking at powers. And we're going to leave this option open over here for us to take a look at what the powers are available already, or what features you get, so we can look to see if there's any synergy or options that will help improve upon the natural features that we gain as a mastermind through the power system to spend mana on. So that's the idea. So another thought behind this. So we know strike powers, sustain powers, something. Okay, so you only have 1 mana at first level, right? By the time you get to 3rd level, a rogue is only going to have 3 mana. That ain't a lot of mana. I recognize that. One of the features that a martial trickster gets, or what will become just base class options for the rogue, is power over precision, which is starting at 3rd level. You can reduce your sneak attack dice and gain temporary mana for each die sacrificed this way up to your total sneak attack dice. When you finish a short or long rest, you can choose to regain the sneak attack dice, losing all unspent temporary mana and dismissing any power sustained by temporary mana when you do. So if I don't anticipate needing combat, say, while we're in town, but we are going to have some social and exploration encounters, and then maybe by the time I have a chance to short rest, I can regain my sneak attack dice to go screw some people up. I can cash in my sneak attack dice and gain additional dice, which means ultimately that I'm going to end up like at 20th level. If I don't need my sneak attack dice, I'm going to end up with 20. I already have 20 mana from the class progression itself, but if I cash in all my sneak attack dice, I gain an extra 10 points, which will end up being 30 mana instead of 20. Granted, now we know that if we're in combat, the empowered sneak attack, if I get rid of all my sneak attack dice, I can't use empowered sneak attack anymore. I won't gain any free mana for me to use strikes for free. And those are useful. So if the 1D&D goes through as written, the class is going to have some canny, uncanny strikes baked into the class. But this is going to allow us to further, kind of like how a lot of these strike powers embellish and are improved versions of the weapon feats, the weapon masteries that 1D&D just recently introduced. So too can we use the empowered sneak attack to embellish the uncanny strikes with these various strike powers that you can pick up. But at 3rd level, at best you're going to have 5. If you get rid of all your sneak attack dice, you're at best going to have 5 mana for the day, or 5 mana until you short rest, and then you can regain your dice and get rid of them again. So you have a refreshing pool there that you potentially get depending on how many short rests your DM allows you to take. But you effectively have unlimited mana within confines of the spell, within confines of the empowered sneak attack, but not until 9th level. So at low level, you can gain extra mana at the cost of sneak attack dice, and at 9th level plus, you want to keep some of your sneak attack dice at all times so you can always get free mana during sneak attacks. Hey, what's up, Nat? Got baked in maneuvers before the fighter did. Oh, you mean in 1D&D? Yeah, I know, right? Like the fighter is just continuously shat on by wizards. Wizard hates the fighter. I don't know what their problem is, man, but they just do not want to give the fighter any love at all. Actually, when we originally built this, we had empowered strikes at 3rd level and power over precision at 9th level, and I switched it because of that very thing. Fighters start getting free mana at 7th level using this system. So it only makes sense that that the rogue wouldn't get until after that. So we pushed it back to 9th level. And at best, a rogue can have at most 3 temporary mana that they gain, which is also the fighter eventually gets up to 3 free mana as well. So that paces out. But the fighter continues to grow in damage capabilities as opposed to the rogue has to sacrifice. We all know this at this point because 1D&D's uncanny strikes are pretty common now. But at the time, this is pretty innovative. So, cheers. Same for Ranger as well. Yes. Yes, I can't have both expertise and an exploration. Maybe they'll figure it out. I still have faith in their team. They aren't done yet. They're still cooking. Maybe they'll figure it out. But yeah, so at low level, the point was at third level when you gain access to the Mastermind, you don't have a lot of mana. But again, if you take the Rogue and you're using the system, you get mana right out the gate, starting at first level. But what can you do with 1, maybe 2 points if you cash in your Sync Attack dice? Not a lot. So what you can do, instead of buying powers that cost mana, you can instead purchase feats. And I talk about this a lot. You can buy feats with your power selections. At first level, you have 2 powers that you can learn. And if you wanted to, as a player, you could just decide to take feats instead of anything else. You don't even need your mana. Or if you wanted to, you could take a sustained power, and I've talked about this a lot in the past, that when you're sustaining a power, if you lock that power, it doesn't end until you are unconscious, or you dismiss the power, or it's dispelled. So I could lock Blind Sense, and I would be, until I go to sleep, I would be aware of locations of any creature and objects on the same plane of existence as me within 10 feet times my proficiency bonus. So at first level, it would be up to 20 feet away, including walls, floors, and ceilings of structures in range, though you can't identify things like color or written text or on these objects using Blind Sense alone. So I could pick up, and it would cost me a mana to activate it, and that would basically be my mana for the day, right? That sucks. But I could lock it. Since I'm not going to use that mana for anything else because I'm tapped out, basically tapped out with only 1 point of mana, and I can only channel 1 mana at first level anyway. My max rank of channeling is 1, and this power costs 1 mana. It's 1 rank. That taxes me out. So I could effectively lock this and make that Blind Sense permanent. I don't have to maintain concentration on it anymore. But I wouldn't be able, since I've locked all of my ranks, I can't channel strikes, I can't channel reactions, I can't channel maneuvers, I can't channel other sustained effects, but I can still use feats because feats don't require any mana at all. So at first level, you could grab a sustained 1, maybe 2 sustained powers if you wanted to, or you could grab a couple feats, or you could grab a sustained power that you think is super cool and a feat to go with it. And as you continue to gain levels, you'll get more and more powers that you know, up to 16. But right now, we are building the batch of free powers that you'll get. You'll get 2 first rank powers, 2 free second rank powers, 2 free third rank powers, etc. Yeah. The ranger needs more cooking. Oh my god, that was disgusting. I hope you didn't see that. Phlegm from my face, stringy. Yeah. I'm gonna take a sip of coffee to clear my palate. Yeah, it makes it locking sustained powers can make for really interesting characters with fun passives. Yeah. You could effectively, at 17th level, you have 5 ranks of power. You can get 5 ranks worth of sustained effects and lock them. You'll notice that 4 is the top rank for all powers. Sustained powers there. Here's our strikes. They only go up to 4th rank. That was initially because of Eldritch Knight and Arcane Trickster. I wanted them to be able to have access to all ranks. Like, if you decided to be an Arcane Trickster or like say Eldritch Knight, and you didn't want to learn any spells, you just wanted to learn powers instead, you could do so while still having the other benefits that the Eldritch Knight provides or the Arcane Trickster provides. But the collateral benefit of that is you get 4th rank powers at 13th level. That means that you can gain access to everything that's you have access to all powers starting at 13th level. So you don't have to be 17th level to get the super cool toys at the top of the list. You get them all at 4th. Granted, an Eldritch Knight doesn't get them until 19th level, nor does an Arcane Trickster. But we wanted to make these things available earlier on so that you can just play with all the toys. I just think that makes sense. So, hey, Hornetico, it's good to see you, my guy. So we are currently in the process of building out the power list for the Mastermind. Initially, I just cut and pasted here. So let's see what would make sense for the Mastermind. Again, going into what the Mastermind gets. Master of Intrigue. You gain proficiency in Disguise Kit, Forgery, game set of your choice. You learn 2 languages as well. You can mimic speech patterns. Also, at 3rd level, Master of Tactics, you gain the help action as a bonus action, and when you do so, you can help an ally make an attack if that ally, or if the target of that attack is within 30 feet of you and can see or hear you. So that's some cool toys. Let's see what we may have that exists already in the system that's going to complement that. We're going to focus specifically on sustained powers and feats at our 3rd level, because like we just whoops like that's my 2 o'clock alarm, so I just need to pay attention to my timing. So let's take a look at what may be out there that's interesting. I mean, Dungeon Delver is a great default for explorer types, but let's I don't remember what Keen Mind does, so let's go take a look at Keen Mind. Keen Mind might actually be a really good feat for the Mastermind. Let's take a look. Yeah, it doesn't look like you have something with Keen Mind. Well, that's because you're a really shitty search engine and you don't know how to put spaces in to ask me if that's what I meant to do. See, I check this out. I type in Keen Mind. It also suggests, ooh, Keep Mind. That's weird. I'll have to check that out. Well, now I'm just curious. Whatever. Keep Mind doesn't mean anything. It's just 2 words next to each other. All right, that's my coffee drink. Let's see. Keen Mind. You have a mind that can track time, direction, and oh my god, that's perfect for the Mastermind. Increase your intelligence. You don't get the intelligence score increases, like stat increases, when you take the feat as a power. You just gain the other stuff. I think one D&D is decoupling stat gains from benefits from feats, so that'll pan out really nicely. You always know which way is north. Great. You always know the number of hours before dawn or dusk. Cool. And you can accurately recall anything that you've seen or heard within the past month. That's perfect for the Mastermind, quite frankly. So let it be written, let it be done. Keen Mind. Feet, comma. Is there anything else here that we like off the cuff? I don't know, man. Telepathic sounds like a pretty fucking great thing to pick up as a Mastermind. That's some pretty low-hanging fruit. Yeah, photographic memory is awesome. You watch that show Suits? It's kind of like Boston Legal, but it's a lot more gotcha. Like everything's a gotcha. Like everyone's jockeying for position over each other. It's a little too one tone in that sense, but the main character has photographic memory, and he's a decent character. It's a well-written show. It's just too, there's not enough heart. It's too aggro and it's too headspacey to be a really great show. But I think at 5th level would be a great time to have telepathy click into place. Let's look at, yeah, nothing happens at 5th level. So 5th level telepathy sounds like a really great place to get for free. Now keep in mind, you can change out all of your entire kit every level. So if you don't like at 2nd level, if you realize what you don't like what you have at 1st level, you can switch all of them out. So you could pick up telepathy at 1st level yourself if you wanted. It's just the Mastermind is going to give it to you for free by 5th. So if you've enjoyed having telepathy, when you hit 5th level, you can free up that power for something else that you want, because the Mastermind is going to give it to you for free. So let's go hunt for some sustained powers to see if there's something cool at 1st and 2nd rank that we might want to grab. I'll help flesh this guy a little bit more. Let's go sustained power, 1st rank, and then 2nd rank. So 1st rank. These are strikes. This is going to be such a fun book to illustrate. I am really, really looking forward to when this becomes my primary project. We have to finish the Spelljammer Combat and Exploration book that we're doing the illustrations for right now. Then we have to finish the Eberron adventure, which we're still finishing up the cartography and we began the illustrations for. It's still in edits. So once it gets out of edits, probably in mid-August at some point, hopefully about when Spelljammer finishes, we'll drop into page layouts for the Eberron adventure. And once that is finished, then Martial Powers becomes our primary project. And I anticipate this being done and published on DMsGuild along with, well, Spelljammer, that should be published by the end of August, maybe first week of September. The Eberron adventure, I anticipate being done and published probably by November. And then that puts Martial Powers front and center, and we should be able to have that finished, I reckon, by maybe March or April 2024. It'll still be like maybe 6 months ahead of Dungeons and Dragons 1D&D. So once that publishes, we'll be able to update the Martial Powers with whatever gets locked in for 1D&D, along with the entire Color Mana spell point bundle that we have linked down below. And we'll be including in that the updated mechanics for Ravnica, Strixhaven, and Theros, plus all the stuff that gets implemented for 1D&D. And then we'll have a full mana system for all 13 character classes using a unified mana system if you happen to be interested in Magic the Gathering as a setting environment for your D&D games. At that point, we'll then be able to start channeling, curving all these things into each other. Like we can create a Spelljammer power system so that while you're piloting or commanding squadrons or siege weapons, a fighter would be able to spend mana to augment his commands, for instance, or the pilot, you could augment her commands by using power, using a list of stuff. So big brain stuff we got going on there. All this shit's designed to be curved into each other. So fun stuff. But let's look at let's stay on track. Let's not get the cart in front of the horse, because horses are horrible at pushing. Is there anything in here that jumps out as, well, there's inspired skill, which is while sustaining its power, you gain proficiency in a skill or tool of your choice. You can channel this power more than once, simultaneously choosing a different skill or tool with each channeling. So, I mean, you're already getting a bunch of skills as a mastermind in general and a rogue on top of that. So why not lean into it and be able to just tap your mana sideways and gain a skill or being able to use a tool on demand? It's a bonus action to gain access to knowing I know how to use this. I know how to use this. And then you can use your action, you can use it. So I think inspired skill is absolutely perfect for this class. Inspired skill, sus 1. I love that. Is there omnilinguist? While sustaining this power, you can communicate with and be understood by any creature with a spoken language. That for the mastermind is also a really, really good low-hanging piece of fruit. There's astute, which is second rank, which is while sustaining its power, gain advantage on intelligence and wisdom checks, but it costs 2 mana. At 5th level, this is going to lock down all of your mana. You can't do, if you want to lock it to keep it active, you deny access to anything else. You could just sustain this and require a concentration check every time you take damage. This system also requires you to make a concentration check. Let me word that differently. When you make a saving throw, it is treated as a concentration check. So if the DM hits you with a strength saving throw, if you fail the concentration DC, then you lose your channeling, you lose your concentration, you lose your sustained powers. So the DC for concentrating is either half the damage taken during an attack or 10 plus ranks of power sustained. So a second rank power has a default minimum DC of 12. If you take 30 points of damage, then the DC would jump to 15. But that would be for a constitution, strength, intelligence, dexterity, charisma, wisdom saving through all of those. You have to hit at least a DC 12 or else you'd say lose astute. But that's, again, you can lock it. If you don't want to lose it, you could lock it, and you could use a reaction to lock it on failing a saving throw if you wanted to. That might cause you to dump stuff, but you could do that. So there's a lot of high risk and rewards if you think your character's going to be safe. So one of the things that I've learned over the years of using this system, just in mana in general, is when you're designing combat encounters and when you're designing tricks, traps, and puzzles, you want to weave in not only damage, like physical damage or whatever type of damage you're dealing out to the team that's going to make them take damage, but also force saving throws. You also want to weave in one physical saving throw and one mental saving throw. Physical saving throws being SDC, Strength, Dex, Con, and a mental saving throw, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. And you want to mix it up. So as you go over, like if you're going to have, say, 4 combat encounters over the course of the day, you're always going to be doing damage, but you want to have a theme among, like in your dungeon, for instance, of stuff that can deal, say, dexterity saving throws and maybe like charisma saving throws. So you want to create a sort of faction of foes that are going to be dealing damage, forcing dex saves, and forcing charisma saves. And then when you move on to the next area of the dungeon, you could just roll a d3 if you want to randomize what it is, but like maybe this next one's going to be like, say, strength and intelligence. So you can't have great stats and everything, except for, of course, the monk. But who plays the monk, right? Well, hopefully we're going to change that. So you want to keep that mixed up so you can punish your team, because mana it's so flexible. Spell points, the biggest complaint about spell points versus spell slots is how flexible they are. You can just pump and dump your highest rank or spell level to be able to do high level stuff over and over again. Well, if you're trying to sustain a lot of high level stuff, like say at 13th level, you can sustain up to 4 mana worth of stuff. That's a lot of cool shit you can do, but that also sets your DC for every saving throw that you can make at 14 minimum. And that gets really, really tough really quick. So then you have to start thinking, I don't want to lose this. Do I want to lock it and cut off access? You'll find that like you want to leave maybe 1 or 2 points open because you're only going to use low-level strikes, for instance, or low-level reactions, or low-level exploits, and lock the stuff that you really want to keep so that they become a permanent buff on your character that don't get lost in combat. So there's a lot of optimization and fiddling and tapping mechanics that you can use to make your character a little bit more complicated than, say, the champion. I hit him and maybe I roll a 19 and crit. Like, this is a lot deeper than that. But people that are exploring these ideas are probably looking for deeper mechanical ideas already anyway, so I'm kind of curving into the audience. But anyway, back on track. Astute, that's a really good one to take. I actually think what I want to do is I'm actually going to go with Omnilinguist at 5th level. So I could, that's not spelled correctly. At 5th level, I can sustain 2 ranks of power. Both of these are first rank powers, which means I could lock both of them, or I could sustain both of them. But both of these sustained powers that you gain access to by 5th level through the Mastermind, you can sustain both at the same time. That's at low levels, I think that's an important theme. So now we're going to look at 9th level. You'll be able to channel up the 3rd rank power. So we're just going to go ahead and lock in Astute, because that's a really, I think, a useful power. Intelligence and Wisdom checks. And that's going to cover a large array of stuff that that a Mastermind is going to be probably wanting to have as far as skills and tools. But that also gives us access to higher rank stuff. And we haven't even looked at any of the combat shit yet. Because again, you get 16 powers that you can just choose from. Like, I want a shitload of strike powers. Okay, we're going to give you some vegetables here with your cake. So you're going to be force fed. You're going to be force fed your veggies here, and you can buy whatever dessert you want for yourself. So that's a lot of there. We're looking for thematic things that fit the narrative of the archetype that you as a player probably wouldn't want to just go out of your way and buy. Like, how many people want to pick up, like, man, I'm really prioritizing Omnilinguist at 3rd level for my character. I gotta have that. Most people aren't having that conversation, so we're giving it to you. So it doesn't have to be something that you are that you're even having to think about. It's just part of being a mastermind, and it thematically kind of makes sense. So we're looking at 3rd rank powers right now. Let's see if there's anything cool at 3rd rank that are sustained powers that we want to pick up. And if not, we'll start working our way up towards the exploits. So let's take a look here at Mind Sense. While sustaining this power, you can sense the location of and communicate telepathically with any creature with an intelligence score, with an intelligence above 3 within 60 feet, even if you can't see them. In addition, you can determine if the creature has a friendly, neutral, or hostile disposition towards you and your allies, even if the creature is attempting to conceal this information. But a lot of people don't use the reaction. What is it? God, what do they call them? The dispositions of creatures that are described in the DMG. This is really helpful stuff. Like, here's like for instance, a lot of people that fret with like charm or diplomacy or intimidate. These are things you can use a creature's disposition instead of just saying that they get to do it. Like it's unrealistic. Like the king's isn't gonna give up his crown because you asked for it. But if I charm you and I say, hey, I want to be king, he'll look at you with a friendly disposition during the course of the spell, but he's not going to give you his crown. That's just something he wouldn't do. But he can at least be friendly with you about it, assuming that you're just telling him a joke. Oh, man, that Thorn the Destroyer, what a kidder. Always looking for crowns. Always looking for crowns. Hey, why don't you date my daughter instead? If she likes you, maybe we can have a talk in a couple of years. You know, that is a realistic conversation to have with a charmed king. If you say, I want your crown. It's like, well, why don't you marry my son? That sort of thing. That's an option. But I think, honestly, Mind Sense isn't a bad option. But it's 3rd rank. Oh, wait. Mind Sense is only 2nd rank. Eee! So that might actually be something worth a doing. Astute. We already have a sus. I think I'm going to push that to 13th level. Mind Sense. That feels like a 13th rank something to have. You can always pick it up earlier and get rid of it by the time you have access to it at 13th. And there's Quick, which is charisma and dexterity checks. You gain advantage on those. That's 2nd rank. That's not a bad option. There's a lot of cool options that are coming through the Mastermind. I'm happy about that. Is there anything else cool happening here? Not specifically. I could just astute and what was it called? Quick? Astute and quick at 9th level? Maybe we should take Mind Sense at 17th, put Quick in at 13th level. Let's consider that. Let's consider that. So now we can go up to exploits. Let's take a look at exploits. Oops, wrong thing to scroll. Let's go to our exploits and see what we got going on up in here. So these 1 mana things, they extended attack. Nope. Let's go with Commanding Presence. While making an ability check, you can use the Intimidate, Performance, or Persuasion skill. When making an ability check that can use the Intimidate, Performance, or Persuasion skill, roll 1 power die per mana channeled, adding the highest roll to your result. Currently we're looking at 9th level, and we know that 9th level equals 3rd rank and upgrades to a D8. So if we were to take this power For those that aren't indoctrinated already, we talked about this a lot in the past streams. In this instance, it would be like, it only costs 1 mana to use it, which would give you 1d8 die roll. And when you do that, you would add it to the result of the ability check that you're making that would benefit from Intimidate, Performance, or Persuasion, even if you don't have those skills. If the DM is like, yeah, you could use those, you'd be like, hey, can I use Commanding Presence with this ability check? It would allow me to use Intimidate, Performance, or Persuasion. DM may say yes, at which point, then great, I'm going to burn a point of mana, I can roll a d8, and I can add that result to it. But at 9th level, we can channel up to 3 mana at a time. And if I had all 3 of my channels open, like if I didn't have any of them locked, then I could spend 3 mana to roll 3 8-sided dice. But I would only keep the highest result. That is a common point about exploits, that you only keep the highest result so that you aren't completely blowing the bounded accuracy at a curve. You don't just spend mana to automatically win a check. You're spending mana to get the most likely best die result that you get. And there is depleting returns off of this. By the time you roll 2 mana, you're most likely on with a d8. If you roll a d8 on, you're likely to roll a 4. 4.5 is going to be your average result. It could be a 1, it could be an 8. If you're spending 2 mana, chances are you're going to end up with something more like a 6. You could roll a 1 or an 8 on both of the dice. You could roll a 4 on both of the dice, but more likely than not, you're going to end up with something more like around 6. You could spend 3 mana, and you are most likely going to get maybe a 6, maybe a 7. But how much better is that really going to be for you than a 4? So at that point, you're really starting to think it through, like, how far up the ladder do I really need to push this mana to get the results that I want? And then it gets even more ridiculous, because once you get to 17th level, it's a d10. Like, how much mana do I need to throw into d10s for me to get the result that I want for my skill? So there's depreciating, depleting returns at that point. But it's a cool system that lets you spike stuff when you want it, and it's got great flavor. So I love having these things. Ooh, Inquisitive. When making an ability check that uses Insight, Investigation, or Perception skill, roll 1 power die per mana channeled, adding the highest result to your roll. There's a lot of really Mastermind. Maybe the practiced Charlatan is the best one to use here. When you're in an ability check that uses Deception, Performance, or Sleight of Hand, roll a power die channeling adding the best results. Mastermind. Tactical Assessment. When making an ability check that can use the History, Insight, or Investigation skill, add a power die. Best result. There's a lot of cool shit in here that we could use. Mastermind. I think Commanding Presence is probably the best for the Mastermind. So let's just grant that. Again, these are freebies. So Commanding Presence, let's go with that. And let's look at some second rank exploits. I mean, we had to. We could always just fill it out with like Tactical Assessment if we really had to. Tac-ass? Maybe. Let's see what else is cool. Cooperative effort. When using the help action. Okay, so the Mastermind. Like it. Master of Tactics. Starting at 3rd level, you can use the help action as a bonus action. When using the help action to grant advantage on the ability check or attack of an ally within 30 feet of you, roll 1 power die per mana channeled. That's going to be 2 mana, adding the highest result to the ally's die roll. That's a fucking great thing to add on. We're absolutely going to take that. Cooperative effort? Yes. 100%. Sold. That is freaking great for the Mastermind. I love that. What other cool shit's out here? Yeah, that's pretty good for exploits. Let's check out maneuvers. Let's see if there's anything cool in here. Coordinated attack, you can empower a target ally within 30 feet to use their reaction to make an attack roll. To make an attack, rolling 1 power die per mana channeled, adding the highest result to the ally's attack against a target you or your ally can both see. Nah. Mastermind, Curse of the Muddled Mind. You curse a creature you can see to roll ability checks and concentration checks with disadvantage. The creature can make an intelligence saving throw at the end of each of its turn, ending the effect when it succeeds. Of course, that would be... That's not bad. Curse of the Muddled Mind. I stole that from the for the Blood Hunter. Initially, when I was building this out, I don't like the cutting hit point loss thing. Hit points is there's such a high economy of spending resources to get hit points back. It's not really... Hit points aren't a good resource. I know that Mercer has this emo thing going on, but honestly, it's not good design. So I also like the idea of Blood Hunters being either paladins or rangers. So I think the aesthetics are there. I think it's a really natural way to do it. So I took everything from the Blood Hunter and I converted them into powers of one way or another. So, Curse of the Muddled Mind isn't a bad thing to take. At 17. We only got that one left. Let's pencil that in. Curse of the Muddled Mind, and that's an exploit of what is that? Second? Well, that's a first rank maneuver. Man 1. So that could be a curse. You can curse somebody either as a bonus action or as a standard action. You can technically curse 2 separate people in the same round using a standard action and a bonus action if you wanted to. Let's see if there's something cooler. Makes more sense. You curse, I love Curse Brand. Also stolen from the Blood Hunter. You curse a creature you can see to make saving throws against your powers with disadvantage. The effect ends when the creature succeeds a saving throw. So I can curse you to get disadvantages, but as soon as you succeed, the power ends. Super fun. Super fun. Like that's something that you could potentially have as a sustained power, but none of the sustained powers that are in this book target other people. All sustained powers are self-buffs. They only affect you. You can lock those abilities. Like, it's not like I don't want to lock Cursed Brand because as soon as he succeeds a saving throw, it ends. And it's not fair to have an effect that can't end. Like, while I have this locked, you're gonna have it. You're gonna have disadvantage on all saving throws against me all day long. You can't get out of it. That's bad design, also. So I specifically crafted all of the sustained effects to only affect the person who's channeling it. And I designed all of the abilities, all the maneuvers, strikes, exploits, reactions, all of it is designed to either last until the end of the round, or it stays active until they can succeed a saving throw and some other caveats. So none of it is based on your concentration. It's all about the creature being able to get out of it themselves, or it only lasting one round. So it has a very tight design on purpose, which has caused us to have to shuffle around, like, how much mana should this thing actually take? Does it last one round only? Or does it last for however long it takes for the creature to be able to save its way out of it? So there's some fun dynamics there. It's not a very 5e mentality, but it's you have to pay attention to what it is, but at the same time you don't. So I love that about this. Pack Tactics is kind of mastermindy. When you channel this maneuver, target a creature you can see, other creatures gain advantage to hit that target until the beginning of your next turn. See, that's there you go. Target somebody, everyone has advantage on them until the beginning of my next turn. That's an example of a very limited scope. And it costs 2 mana, but everybody on your team can dogpile this dude. So, like, if your barbarian took this, then your rogue is automatically going to get sneak attack on that target. Like, that's really great team synergy, and that's a really freaking cool thing that, like, a barbarian of the beast or totem might take. and manifest that with bestial whatever flavor you want to insert here. You curse a creature you can see to deal half damage with attacks until the target succeeds a strength saving throughout the end of each of its turn. That's a cool thing, but I don't think it's Mastermind specifically. With terror, nah, I think I'm good with that. Reaction, Curse of Exposure. As a reaction to a creature within 30 feet of you taking damage, if the creature is resistant to that damage, it can't benefit from resistance to the damage roll. This is a reaction. So it's stolen, again, from the Blood Hunter. You know what? I think I'm okay with this. I think I like Curse of the Muddled Mind. So far, I think I'm pretty happy with that. Yep, I'm happy with that. And I didn't pick up any exploit. I didn't pick up any strikes in this one. That's rare. Normally we have strikes woven into here, but not here. Wow, that was fucking fun, guys. I love building these things. Oh my god, I love building these out. It's so cool. But that's it for today. So I gotta bounce out of here. My lunch is over. And so we do this every Tuesday. Eventually, we're going to be doing it on Mondays and Thursday nights also until the book gets published. And God knows what we're going to do after that. But the Mastermind is done. So we'll come. I need to fix the formatting for the Phantom. And I need to fix the formatting for... No, Scout's good. Scout, Soul Knife, Thief. So when we come back next week, we're going to do... we will do... the Soul... Ooh, cool. We're going to do the Soul Knife. Ooh, that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to that. We get to use... There's psionics with the Soul Knife. Now we get to explore the idea of psionics intermixing with the power system. Kind of looking forward to that a lot. So there's the Phantom. Is there anything else that... Nope. The Phantom is the only one that I need to fix. Soul Knife, Swashbuckler... And then we'll be done. And then we get to go through and start building power kits for the monk. Cool. All right, that's it for the day, guys. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning in about 16 hours. We'll be back on to do more Spelljammer artwork. We'll be back Thursday night to do more Eberron art, cartography, and creature token production. And we'll be back. We'll be on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. Seattle time, Pacific time, to continue work on Joseph Vargas's role-playing game book cover, Reclement, and then we'll be back next week doing more martial powers on Tuesday lunch. So, thanks a lot, guys, for hanging out. And if you're a lurker, thanks a lot for checking it out. Like and subscribe. And if you want to find out when I'm live, hit the bell icon to get notifications, or follow me on Twitter @PhilKearney. So I'm out for now. Catch you guys in the morning. Thanks a lot.